Your brain is a liar. It's trained to see patterns and reject absurdity. I'm about to tell you 101 things about America that your gut will scream are lies, but every single one is documented, verified, and absolutely real. And let's play a game. Use Hype Button as your personal bullshit detector. When it finally accepts a fact is true against all logic, press it. Consider it a trophy for your brain's surrender. 1. Think Florida is closest to Africa? Wrong. It is Maine. Yes, the freezing lobster capital of America. Go ahead, check a map. Maine sticks out so violently east into the Atlantic that it absolutely ruins geography. Your brain hates it, but it is 100% true. 2. Calculus literally did not exist when Harvard opened. Isaac Newton was not even born yet. Elite American students were already paying outrageous tuition for prestigious degrees, and the absolute hardest math class available was just basic algebra. What were they even studying? Advanced dirt? 3. Deep underneath Missouri, the government is hoarding billions of pounds of cheese. They converted massive limestone caves into heavily guarded dairy vaults in the 1980s just to stabilize milk prices. We have a national classified strategic cheese reserve. Seriously, we are defending cheddar in the dark. 4. What is more American than the Golden Arches? Apparently reading. The United States has more public libraries than McDonald's locations. Sounds like complete propaganda designed to make us look smart, right? Nope. We just keep the books perfectly pristine while idling in the drive-thru for cold fries. 5. Before delivering the Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln was choke-slamming local tough guys in Illinois bars. He fought 300 matches and lost exactly once. That officially earned him a spot in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Do not let the top hat fool you. The man was a physical menace. 6. The Pentagon actually spent real taxpayer money researching a gay bomb. The strategy? Drop powerful chemical aphrodisiacs on enemy troops. Make them violently attracted to each other. Stop the war through involuntary romance. Grown men in uniform pitched this with a straight face. They got funded. Unbelievable. 7. Draw a straight vertical line down from Reno, Nevada. You will find those desert casinos are actually further west than Los Angeles. California curves inward so sharply that Reno sits much closer to the Pacific Ocean than the Hollywood elites do. Reality is just playing tricks on us. 8. In 1913, parents realized postal stamps were way cheaper than train tickets, so they did the most logical thing possible. They mailed their kids. People literally handed their actual toddlers to the mail carrier for ground delivery. No bubble wrap, no tracking numbers, just tossing little Timmy into the federal system. 9. Terrified of swimming in the ocean? You should probably fear the office break room instead. You are statistically more likely to be crushed to death by a falling vending machine than eaten by a shark. Shaking that heavy glass for a stuck candy bar is a genuinely lethal gamble. 10. Our current 50-star flag was designed by an Ohio high school student. His teacher gave him a B- because the drawing was completely unoriginal. That exact same design was eventually adopted by the federal government. The kid literally defined American patriotism and got graded like a complete slacker. 11. Human politicians are so incredibly frustrating that an Alaskan town elected a cat. Stubbs the feline served as honorary mayor of Talkeetna for 20 straight years. He spent his days drinking water from a wine glass and sleeping. Frankly, he was vastly more effective than anyone currently sitting in Congress. 12. George Washington never knew dinosaurs existed. The concept simply was not invented yet. He crossed the icy Delaware River and fought off the entire British Empire, completely oblivious to the fact that giant prehistoric murder lizards used to roam his backyard. History timelines are absolutely wild. 13. A dentist invented cotton candy. Just appreciate the sheer evil of that business model for a second. William Morrison created a machine that spins pure sugar into an irresistible fluffy cloud. He practically guaranteed his clinic would never run out of patients with massive cavities. A sinister capitalist genius. 14. To strictly enforce prohibition, the federal government intentionally poisoned the industrial alcohol supply with deadly toxins. They assumed the risk of agonizing death would scare off bootleggers. It totally failed. Nearly 10,000 Americans died just trying to get a cheap weekend buzz. The feds played lethal bartender. 15. Why does the Pentagon have double the necessary bathrooms? Segregation. Built in the 1940s, strict laws required totally separate plumbing facilities for white and black employees. Now, half of those bathrooms are redundant. It is just a massive, permanent architectural monument to how painfully stupid racism actually is. 16. We broke nature. There are significantly more plastic lawn flamingos in the United States than real ones alive on Earth. We manufactured millions of cheap neon pink yard ornaments just to annoy our homeowners' associations. The fake birds outnumber the actual biological species. That is the most American statistic ever. 17. During the Cold War, the CIA dropped $20 million surgically wiring live cats with microphones to spy on Soviets. They released their first elite cyborg cat near an embassy. A passing taxi immediately flattened it. Decades of elite espionage training, instantly erased by local traffic. 18. A giant swamp rabbit tried to assassinate President Jimmy Carter. He was peacefully fishing in Georgia when a crazed aquatic bunny suddenly swam rapidly at his boat, baring its teeth. The leader of the free world had to violently paddle it away to survive. Secret Service did absolutely nothing. 19. Alaska is simultaneously the westernmost, northernmost, and easternmost state. Wait, what? Its Aleutian Islands stretch so unbelievably far out into the ocean that they actually cross the 180th meridian into the eastern hemisphere. Yes, the icy edge of America physically touches the east. Do not try to make it make sense. 20. The military completely controls your road trip. Every single GPS satellite is owned and operated by the United States Space Force. They let you use it for free just to find the nearest Starbucks. But they could instantly flip a switch and plunge global traffic into apocalyptic chaos. 21. The man who invented the Pringles can is buried in one. Frederick Bauer was so insanely proud of his iconic cardboard tube that his family stuffed his ashes inside an original flavor can before burying him. Talk about extreme brand loyalty to the literal grave. 22. You legally have to report stolen goods to the IRS. Yes, the government demands a cut of your crimes. If you steal a TV, you must list its fair market value on your federal taxes. The feds do not care if you are a thief, they just want their money. 23. The CIA completely faked a vampire attack in the Philippines. To terrify local rebels in the 1950s, agents drained the blood from a dead body to mimic a supernatural monster. Your tax dollars literally funded a government-sponsored, tactical Dracula operation. 24. Cornflakes were invented to stop you from touching yourself. John Harvey Kellogg seriously believed his incredibly bland cereal would completely destroy human sex drive. You think you are eating breakfast, but you are actually consuming 19th century anti-masturbation propaganda. Enjoy your cereal. 25. Andrew Jackson's parrot had to be forcefully removed from his funeral. Why? The bird would not stop screaming horrific profanities at the mourners. The 7th President of the United States literally taught his pet how to curse so much that it completely ruined his own memorial. 26. The United States almost went to war with Britain over a dead pig. In 1859, an American shot a British-owned pig for eating his potatoes. Both nations instantly deployed massive warships over a bacon dispute. International diplomacy is incredibly fragile and completely stupid. 27. More people currently live in New York City than in 40 separate American states. You could empty out the entire population of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, and the Dakotas, and they would barely fill a few boroughs. We shoved an entire nation's worth of humans onto one tiny island. 28. Hot dogs are absolutely not American. They were entirely invented in Germany. We just slapped them in a cheap bun, covered them in bright yellow mustard, and claimed them as our ultimate patriotic baseball food. We totally stole the sausage and aggressively rebranded it as freedom. 29. In 1986, Cleveland released 1.5 million balloons to break a world record. It was a complete disaster. The sky filled with rubber, shutting down the airport, causing fatal boat crashes, and paralyzing the entire city. It was basically a colorful, self-inflicted apocalypse. 30. The Air Force accidentally dropped 2 massive nuclear bombs on North Carolina in 1961. A bomber completely broke apart mid-air. One single flimsy safety switch is the exact reason the East Coast was not instantly vaporized. Sleep well tonight knowing that. 31. When NASA needed the ultimate life-saving spacesuits for the Apollo 11 moon landing, they did not hire a massive military contractor. They hired Playtex. Yes, the exact same company famous for manufacturing women's bras and underwear literally stitched together the high-tech suits that kept Neil Armstrong alive on the lunar surface. 32. NASA had to officially label the sizes of astronaut urination sleeves as large, gigantic, and humongous. Why? Because absolutely none of the male astronauts would swallow their pride and pick the small size. Billions spent on space exploration, almost derailed by fragile male egos. 33. President Calvin Coolidge had a pet raccoon named Rebecca. He did not keep her in a cage. He put her on an embroidered leash and just walked her around the White House lawns like a dog. The Roaring '20s were just a lawless, weird time for executive politics. 34. A college student once sued Pepsi for a Harrier jet. A commercial jokingly offered the military aircraft for 7 million Pepsi points. He actually raised the money and demanded his fighter jet. Pepsi panicked and went to court. Never underestimate American legal greed. 35. During World War II, the military tried to train bats to carry tiny bombs. The brilliant plan completely backfired when the armed bats escaped and immediately burned down their own newly built military base. Turns out, strapping explosives to flying rodents is a terrible tactical strategy. 36. The state of Colorado has a literal, legally recognized town just called No Name. When highway developers were building the interstate, they put No Name on the exit signs as a temporary placeholder. They completely forgot to change it. Today, it has a working post office and absolutely zero identity. 37. The entire state of Texas is technically tiny compared to Alaska. You could comfortably fit Texas into Alaska 2 separate times and still have room left over. Texans love to brag about everything being bigger, but they are just the little sibling to the frozen north. 38. In 1965, the United States Patent Office legally approved a machine that spins pregnant women in circles to help them give birth. The government literally gave official scientific backing to a giant human centrifuge designed to fling babies out using pure centrifugal force. Absolute medical insanity, entirely funded and patented. 39. Finding a bald eagle feather on the ground and keeping it is a federal crime. Unless you belong to a recognized Native American tribe, picking up that patriotic bird debris can land you in massive legal trouble. Freedom has very strict, incredibly specific littering laws. 40. Wyoming is a massive state, but it only has exactly 2 escalators. Both are located inside totally different banks in the exact same city. You could wander an area vastly larger than Great Britain and never find moving stairs. Nature completely rules everything out there. 41. The United States bought the entire state of Alaska from Russia for just 2 cents an acre. It was viciously mocked as a massive waste of taxpayer money. Then they immediately found endless gold and oil. We bought the ultimate geopolitical lottery ticket for pocket change. 42. Barry Manilow wrote the iconic McDonald's jingle. You deserve a break today. You have heard it a billion times and never once thought a Grammy-nominated pop star was behind it. He also wrote the Band-Aid jingle. The man secretly shaped your entire childhood commercial soundtrack for almost nothing. 43. The United States detonated a massive nuclear weapon in outer space. In 1962, they launched a warhead just to see what would happen. It created a glowing artificial aurora borealis and completely fried orbital satellites. We nuked the vacuum of space just out of sheer boredom. 44. Sliced bread is actually younger than Betty White was. The beloved American actress was born in 1922. The machine that automatically slices loaves was not invented until 1928. She literally predated the greatest thing since sliced bread. Time makes absolutely no sense. 45. Abraham Lincoln's dog was also assassinated. Less than a year after the president was murdered, his beloved dog Fido was stabbed by a drunk man with a knife. Being connected to the Lincoln family was apparently a completely fatal, inescapable curse. 46. The government legally declared pizza a vegetable. In 2011, Congress decided that because a single slice contains 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, it counts as a healthy school lunch. Politicians will eagerly bend biological reality just to keep feeding kids cheap carbs. 47. The state of New Mexico legally passed a resolution declaring that Pluto is still a planet. Because the astronomer who originally discovered it was from there, the state government just stubbornly ignored the entire global scientific community. They literally legislated against modern astrophysics out of pure local pride. 48. An American man stole a plane and landed it directly on a narrow street in the middle of New York City. Twice. Thomas Fitzpatrick made a drunken bar bet, stole an aircraft, and touched down right in front of a Manhattan bar. 2 years later, he did it again just because someone refused to believe the first story. 49. Martin Luther King Jr. actually got a C in public speaking. The man who delivered the immortal "I Have a Dream" speech, moving millions and fundamentally changing human history, was told by a professor his delivery was just average. Academic grading is a complete joke. 50. President Teddy Roosevelt was shot directly in the chest while delivering a speech. Did he panic and rush to the hospital? Nope. He ignored the bleeding bullet wound, mocked the failed assassin, and kept talking for another 90 minutes. The man was practically an unkillable Terminator. 51. In 2010, the United States Air Force connected 1,760 PlayStation 3 consoles together to build a massive supercomputer. They realized buying retail gaming consoles in bulk was drastically cheaper than building military-grade tech from scratch. Your tax dollars funded the ultimate gaming setup. 52. An astronaut secretly smuggled a corned beef sandwich into outer space in 1965. It immediately crumbled in zero gravity. The floating rye breadcrumbs almost ruined the entire multi-million-dollar NASA orbital mission. We risked space exploration for deli meat. 53. Las Vegas does not actually contain the Las Vegas Strip. The famous neon stretch of massive casinos is entirely located in an unincorporated town completely legally called Paradise. You have never gambled in Las Vegas. You just played blackjack in a geographic lie. 54. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a fictional story about a shipwreck where starving survivors ate a man named Richard Parker. Almost 50 years later, a real ship sank. The desperate survivors actually ate a cabin boy. His real name? Richard Parker. Poe was basically a terrifying psychic. 55. Over 100 dead Americans are currently frozen in liquid nitrogen inside a facility in Arizona. Their families paid massive amounts of cash, hoping scientists will eventually invent a way to bring them back to life. They are literally paying rent as human popsicles. 56. There is a fully functional private basketball court located directly above the main courtroom of the United States Supreme Court. The judicial staff literally shoots hoops right over the heads of the most powerful and serious judges in the entire country. It is officially, and hilariously, nicknamed the highest court in the land. 57. The fresh apples you buy at an American grocery store can easily be over a year old. Distributors treat them with a special chemical gas and lock them in dark, cold storage for up to 12 months before they ever hit the shelves. You are literally eating zombie fruit while confidently thinking it was just picked from a local orchard. 58. The CIA secretly funded modern art to aggressively fight communism. During the Cold War, they covertly pumped cash into promoting abstract painters like Jackson Pollock. They wanted to prove American culture was creatively free. Your taxes paid for chaotic paint splatters to terrify the Soviets. 59. The United States drops thousands of dead mice filled with Tylenol out of helicopters. They bombard the island of Guam to assassinate invasive brown tree snakes. The over-the-counter headache medicine is brutally toxic to the reptiles. We are literally bombing snakes with pharmacy supplies. 60. Nutmeg is strictly banned in the American prison system. If you eat ridiculous amounts of the holiday baking spice, it acts as a very powerful hallucinogen. Inmates were getting high off the exact same powder you casually sprinkle on your pumpkin spice lattes. 61. The FBI spent 2 entire years conducting a massive, heavily funded official investigation into the party song Louie Louie. They were absolutely convinced the garbled, messy lyrics contained secret, hardcore obscenities. After 24 months of elite federal audio analysis, they officially concluded that they just could not understand the singer. 62. A massive underground fire has been relentlessly burning in Pennsylvania since 1962. The town of Centralia sits directly on top of an ignited coal mine that is still ablaze today. The streets literally crack open and toxic smoke pours out like a gateway to hell. 63. The Empire State Building is so ridiculously massive that it has its own exclusive zip code. You can mail a letter directly to a single skyscraper without ever naming a street or an apartment. It is a vertical concrete city pretending to be just an office building. 64. You can legally mail a fully unboxed coconut from Hawaii. Just grab a Sharpie, write a mainland address directly on the hard shell, stick some federal stamps on it, and hand it to the mailman. It is the most absurdly tropical postal regulation in existence. 65. There are significantly more barrels of aging bourbon in Kentucky than there are actual human beings. The state has 4 million people, but houses over 11 million casks of alcohol. The citizens are heavily outnumbered and completely surrounded by their own liquor supply. 66. For exactly 1 year in 1835, the United States was completely debt-free. President Andrew Jackson paid off the entire national balance. It is the absolute only time in history the federal government did not owe anyone a single penny. Naturally, the entire economy immediately crashed right after. 67. The government briefly banned sliced bread in 1943 to conserve resources for World War II. Americans completely lost their minds. The public outrage was so intense and aggressive that the ban was totally reversed after just 2 months. Do not ever touch our convenience. 68. Actor. Woody Harrelson's father was a professional hitman. Charles Harrelson assassinated a federal judge in 1979. The famous lovable guy from Cheers and Zombieland grew up knowing his dad was a genuine, ruthless contract killer. Hollywood family trees are uncomfortably dark. 69. The United States military officially lost a massive, fully armed nuclear bomb somewhere off the coast of Georgia in 1958. 2 planes collided mid-air, and the pilot just dropped the nuke into the ocean so he could land safely. It is still sitting completely unrecovered at the bottom of the sea right now. 70. The president travels with a literal doomsday plane. It follows Air Force One everywhere. It is a heavily modified airborne command center designed specifically to run a global nuclear war from the sky while the world burns below. Just a casual reminder of impending apocalypse. 71. The CIA spent $20 million trying to teach psychics how to spy on Soviet bases with their minds. Project Stargate was a genuine government program. They paid people to sit in dark rooms and aggressively guess what Russian generals were doing. Shockingly, it failed. 72. President John F. Kennedy bought 1,200 Cuban cigars for himself. He secured the massive personal stash just hours before officially signing the strict embargo against Cuba. The ultimate flex of executive privilege is hoarding illegal tobacco right before banning it for everyone else. 73. Jaywalking used to be completely legal. Car companies literally invented the crime in the 1920s. They wanted to take over the streets, so they aggressively shamed pedestrians and pushed laws to ban walking in the road. The automotive industry successfully stole the pavement. 74. McDonald's once engineered bubblegum-flavored broccoli. They genuinely thought it would trick kids into eating vegetables. Unsurprisingly, it tasted like an absolute chemical nightmare, and the children completely rejected it. Corporate America really thought they could outsmart biology with artificial flavoring. 75. Roy Sullivan was an American park ranger struck by lightning exactly 7 times. He survived every single hit. Burns, lost toenails, singed hair, the works. The man literally could not go outside without the sky trying to personally execute him. The odds of that happening are roughly 1 in 10 octillion. 76. George Washington's wooden teeth are a massive lie. His dentures were actually constructed from ivory, gold, lead, and real teeth pulled from enslaved people. History books completely sanitize the terrifying, gross reality of 18th century colonial dentistry. 77. NASA completely accidentally erased the original high-quality video of the Apollo 11 moon landing. They were trying to save a few bucks and just recorded over the historic tapes with basic satellite data. The greatest achievement in human history was literally deleted for budget cuts. 78. The Pentagon essentially funded the creation of the internet. The network was originally built because the military wanted a communication system that could easily survive a massive nuclear strike. Your ability to endlessly scroll social media was born entirely from Cold War apocalyptic paranoia. 79. Vice President Andrew Johnson was completely hammered during his official inauguration. He was feeling sick, chugged massive amounts of pure whiskey to fight off a cold, and loudly slurred his way through the swearing-in ceremony. Abraham Lincoln had to sit there and watch his deputy completely embarrass the nation. 80. The United States military actually has a detailed official plan for a zombie apocalypse. It is a real Pentagon document. They created it as a training exercise, but it genuinely covers everything from radiation zombies to space zombies. Your tax dollars funded a federal strategy for the Walking Dead. 81. There is an actual town in Nebraska called Monowi with a total population of exactly 1 person. She is the mayor, the librarian, and the bartender. She literally pays taxes to herself and grants her own liquor license. It is the ultimate one-woman American dictatorship. 82. New York City was briefly renamed New Orange. In 1673, the Dutch recaptured it from the British and renamed it after the Prince of Orange. They lost it back almost immediately, and it became New York again. The Big Apple was almost the Big Citrus, and our entire cultural identity nearly changed forever. 83. The first person to ever survive going over Niagara Falls in a wooden barrel was a 63-year-old American schoolteacher. She survived the deadly plunge with just a small cut. Years later, she slipped on an orange peel and completely shattered her leg. 84. A town in Washington state built a massive suspension bridge exclusively for squirrels. Nutty Narrows Bridge was constructed just so local rodents could cross busy streets safely. We cannot fix our actual crumbling highways, but American squirrels get premium elevated infrastructure. 85. George Washington ran a highly profitable whiskey distillery after he retired as president. The father of our country was practically the largest liquor distributor in 18th century America. He stopped running the government and immediately started making serious alcohol money. 86. A man bought a first-class American Airlines ticket for life. He flew so obsessively that it eventually cost the airline over $21 million in flights. They completely panicked and revoked his pass. Never offer Americans unlimited anything. We will completely destroy the system. 87. You can get a DUI while riding a horse. In many American states, steering a living animal while totally hammered will legally get you arrested for drunk driving. You have to explain to a judge that your biological grass-eating vehicle was swerving out of a bar. 88. The inventor of the Frisbee was cremated and turned into a Frisbee. Walter Morrison passed away, and his incredibly supportive family molded his ashes into the exact plastic flying disc he created. They literally toss him around the yard. That is some highly aggressive memorializing. 89. There is an official United States post office located at the absolute bottom of the Grand Canyon. It serves the tiny village of Supai, Arizona. The terrain is so incredibly extreme that your federal mail is literally delivered by a train of pack mules every single day. We use 19th century animal labor for modern Amazon logistics. 90. The Warner Brothers were already making movies before the Ottoman Empire collapsed. The legendary American film family was producing and distributing silent films, while a massive, centuries-old empire was still technically operating. Hollywood is genuinely older than most people's concept of modern history. 91. An American pilot intentionally crashed a massive Boeing airliner into the desert just to see what would happen. NASA and the FAA rigged a giant plane with cameras and crashed it to test safety features. It is the most expensive, destructive science fair project in human history. 92. The iconic Hollywood Walk of Fame stars are not awards. They cost $50,000. Celebrities literally have to buy their own sidewalk plaque and pay an annual fee for its upkeep. It is just extremely expensive street pavement disguised as a massive cultural honor. 93. Hawaii is slowly attempting to escape the United States. Tectonic plates are shifting the entire island chain about 2 inches closer to Japan every single year. At this rate, the ultimate tropical American vacation spot is just casually attempting a very slow geological international defection. 94. The original inventor of the stop sign completely refused to get a driver's license. William Phelps Eno designed the traffic rules that entirely shape modern American roads, but he absolutely never drove a car himself. He dictated global traffic from the backseat of a carriage. 95. Massachusetts once banned Christmas. The Puritans who founded the colony thought celebrating the holiday was a sinful pagan disgrace. From 1659 to 1681, you could be fined for throwing a party on December 25th. The state that gave us the American Revolution literally canceled Christmas for over 20 years. 96. Almost an entire town in Alaska lives inside one single building. The isolated town of Whittier has a population of around 200 people, and basically all of them reside in an old Cold War military barracks. The mayor, the grocery store, and the post office are all just a short elevator ride down the hall. 97. During World War II, the military hid a massive, sprawling Boeing bomber factory in Seattle by building an entirely fake suburban neighborhood directly on its roof. From the air, Japanese bombers would just see fake wooden trees, fake houses, and painted roads instead of a multi-million-dollar military target. Absolute architectural deception. 98. The Hollywood sign did not originally celebrate movies. It said Hollywoodland. It was literally just a massive, obnoxious billboard built in 1923 for a random real estate development. They just dropped the last 4 letters later and pretended it was high culture. 99. There is a massive bank vault in New York entirely filled with gold that does not belong to us. The Federal Reserve Bank holds the gold reserves for dozens of foreign nations deep underground. We are basically acting as the paranoid global pawn shop. 100. Remember Maine from the very beginning of this list? It gets weirder. Maine is the absolute only state in the entire country with a one-syllable name. Go ahead and try to think of another one right now. Out of 50 separate regions, only one managed to keep its branding short, aggressive, and straight to the point. 101. The Declaration of Independence has a massive handprint stamped on the back of it. Nobody has any idea who put it there or when it happened. The most sacred, heavily guarded document in American history has a giant dirty smudge on it, and it is a complete mystery. You've now been armed with 101 pieces of conversational chaos. The challenge for you: which of these facts is the absolute most embarrassing for the United States? I want to see a brutal fight in the comments. Subscribe, because your brain clearly enjoys this kind of abuse. And hit that limited edition hype button. You know why.